Is there anybody? Yes, in the back.
Yes, thank you. For sharing your heart and your heritage and your hope. It's a beautiful film. And my question is, what is your hope that Elvis will touch and transform hearts and is to carry on the dreams that you had for this baby? How do you want to save the world?
Well, I think I can see where all this is going. We already have a plan. I'm not going to give you a long version. I just told you that I came from Western Senegal, and until age 12, I had not seen a moving image. And as you have seen in the film, the only stories I listened to until age 6 were stories told by my grandmother. Then Senegal was part of the French colonial system. What did that mean? It meant that for us, going to school, of course, was broadening our worldview. But the sad thing is that the more we progressed into the French colonial system, the more our memory of our fathers receded. Our local stories, our languages were criminalized and taken away from us. And I think I have said the story, told the story somewhere else. When I was age 12, you wake me up at 4 o'clock in the morning, you pinch me, I would recite Molière, Chateaubriand, all the classics of French literature. But I had not read any book in African literature. So for me, it is really Sembene who rescued me from cultural drowning. Don't get me wrong, the French literature of course brought me a lot, but it also had as a side effect to make me forget who I was. So Sembene rescued me. He rescued Africa not by using guns, not by using a sword. He just discovered the power of storytelling, and he used that storytelling to transform the world. And I think I am the living example of what Sembene has been able to accomplish with his writing and with his film. Sembene died June 9th, 2007, and this is still vivid in my memory. Even before that, I stood at his grave and promised him that as long as I am alive, I'll carry the torch. I'll try to make sure his works are known. And Jason and I are making this film. Really, it's not just to pay tribute to Sembene. This is bigger than Sembene now. This is for my son, Ali, my children's son, Ali and Mari. This is for Theo. This is for children all over the world. But beyond that, all our stories have been incorporated. Simple example, we cannot get together anymore in our communities, tell stories to each other. We have to come to a movie theater and pay money. We used to sit around a campfire, tell each other stories. And guess what? How we called telling stories? We called it maye. Maye in Wolof means a gift. Telling each other's story is to give a gift to each other. It is the possibility to give a gift that got taken away from us. And that's what Sembene brought to us. And that's what Jason, myself, and Alain are trying to carry to future generations.
Other questions? I actually have one. To kind of engage what you just said, that it was not only to document, but also there was a personal investment in telling stories. And there's so much material that you had, so many of the films that were there. How did you make choices? How did you make choices of what part of the story to tell?
Sure. It took 7 years. We tried a lot of things that didn't work. Some things worked, and you keep trying to figure out. In essence, this is a story about the power of storytelling, and so we kept the focus on that. And it's a very human story. There is a lot of we do have an agenda underneath it, but we really wanted people to understand Sembene's arc as a human and Samba's arc as a human, and know how stories can touch us and move us, and not stories in the small sense, but these big ideas that we the way we understand the world is through these stories. And so we wanted to keep the focus on that element. Hopefully that comes through strongly. Microphone's flying around too.
There's a lady here in front, yes.
Did Sembene write all of his movies?
Sembene write all of his movies was the question.
Yes, actually, there is a clip there where he tells you what he does. He is a real author, so to speak, because Sembene was very conscious of the power of storytelling and of cinematography. He knew by the 60s the only way in which an artist could reach the African public would have to be through cinema. Because while our national languages were marginalized and criminalized, the French language was imposed but was not accessible to everybody. Which meant that you write a book for Africans in Africa, only maybe 10% of Africans can read them. Because on the one hand, the level of illiteracy was about 80%, and the second, when you look at people who live on $1 a day, certainly buying a book would not be the first priority. So Sembene discovered that the only way, and there's one third factor, if you take the entire continent of Africa, you have thousands and thousands of languages. And Sembene in 1961 toured the continent, and actually I can tell you that it's a very, very beautiful image he gave there. He said in 1961, the Belgian Congo, called Zaire and now Congo, gained its independence. You show the hero of the Belgian independence in the film, Patrice Lumumba. Few months after that, he was dead, and the Sembene said, reminiscing, said he was on a boat on the Congo River. There is singing, there is all these images. He said he closed his eyes, and then he had an epiphany. Right there, at age 40, he realized instead of writing books, if he had made a film, he would have been able to reconcile the African artist with the African public. And he's really a path, how do you call it, a path breaker. When you ask him, why did you think with cinema you can solve problems of communication in Africa? He said, because with cinema, you can teach people how to see with their ears and to hear with their eyes. What does it mean? You can make a film in Wolof, take it to South Africa, people will be able to understand it, and vice versa. So, and I think that's what vested Sembene into cinema, and I think nobody summed it better than a New York Times film critic, Michael Atkinson. He said that Sembene is the last of a generation of revolutionary filmmakers who made film not for film's sake, who made film not for money's sake, but for the sake of humanity. And I think that's what Sembene considered as, actually he took it to the extreme, to the point where creating African images became for Sembene a value. A value meaning something that is worth living for, and if need be, something worth dying for. And I saw Sembene die literally making his latest films. So for him, for African cinema cannot be a luxury, it is a weapon for liberation.
There's a question, lady in the glasses.